is actually a teepee. And the community, the indigenous community, flipped all of that upside down. So whenever they shared this with Maslow, it was actually that you started with self-actualization and self-transcendence. And then the other things come from that because you're living communally. So you're sharing all of these things. They had this idea of 7. They said what we do is it's the product of the 7 generations before us, and what we do after is going to be what informs the next 7 generations after us. So if you invert this whole model, which I think there's good to both of them, I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. There's a lot of good things about not being village people the way it was then, like, I mean, recognizing that is actually what moves us all to a different level of being together.
Yeah, and I think here's what I've heard from some of you who, when there's conversations around what it means to be a part of, participating at, say, like a volunteer level, I think there's this undertow of, in previous church experiences, you were told to put the we ahead of the me, and you lost track of the me. And that can't, that's not the ideal. It's through the we, you actually, like part of what we want to do is to try to practice a type of togetherness and transparency. There will be Sundays where like we have to have that conversation because it's so important that we have to do it in this room. But I want to try to create a different kind of, we want to try to create a different kind of type of space for that. And that, I said more about that than I intended to. But in terms of a deficit in financial or human resources, a deficit in financial or human resources impacts the way roads, buildings, and quarter of a game and you're down 20, the amount of energy it takes to even tie the score is enormous. And so deficit exhausts you. Deficit, or the lack of margin, the cost is the absence of innovation or creativity or development. And so part of why this conversation is so important isn't just, hey, we're trying to resource the bigger engine of this thing. No, it's to say, we have been operating at a human resource deficit now for 3 years,